Today, I think if we look at 2021, what we can clearly say is digital first is an undisputed thought and an action. And this is true for individuals or as well as for the business. So I think that's given. This disruption is given around. And if you look at the history of product and innovations around from a disruption perspective, I think uh, disruption happens on a constant way in some way or the other, right? It's not just a one time intervention. This can happen due to mergers and an acquisition. This can happen due to new laws, leadership, or a pandemic, right? And these are the moments where winning products have lost to emerging disruptors. And on the other side, we have a challenge that, right, how does the winner continues to be a winner, right? And what's the incumbent playbook? What's the incumbent advantage? I mean, I worked with Tally, who had an incumbent advantage of a market leader in SME, but I would really like to hear from the ecosystem. How does it work out? So today I have Srini from Fiserv. Good evening, Srini. Good afternoon. and
Right.
Fiserv has been in the industry for 35 years, offering customers in the fintech space with their products, in more than 100 odd countries, right? And you yourself, you are leading a huge member, 10,000 odd people, whom you are guiding, aligning into the entire journey of disruption. I think hearing your thought would be very essential, and your past experience was awesome. When I looked at you were leading the first data as a head of India, and that was really nice, and really looking forward to hear from you, Srini. And yeah, why don't you start from a very broad perspective, right? You want to introduce, and then what you can do is we can really look at uh, disruption, whether it is an opportunity or a threat, right? I'm sure the answer is opportunity, but how do leaders and organization actually tap into this, right? How do they tap into this? How do they remake? I think if you can throw some light in that would be great.
Well, good afternoon, Rakesh, and good afternoon to everybody who's made the time to join here. And thank you to NASSCOM for giving us an opportunity. Happy to share some of my thoughts, right? As Rakesh, as you rightly said, look, it's always an opportunity. That's where we live our lives, right? But as business leaders, we're expected to anticipate and then be able to quickly respond and thrive in the event of change, right? So it requires foresight, right? So typically the questions that I would ask or anyone would ask is, how are you anticipating what's happening in the market, and how are you looking at consumer trends,
Mhm,
right? Is your organization ready to adapt,
mhm,
right? In terms of, do you have people and skills, and are they being skilled regularly to deliver, and are you upskilling them on a regular
mhm,
basis?
mhm,
Do you have the right tech and infrastructure in your ecosystem to be able to accommodate those changes as they come along?
mhm, mhm.
And last but not the least, I guess, the most, prominent question right now is, how are you leveraging data and analytics to know more about your customers,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Now,
Not debated.
yeah, look, I mean, again, I think, the business priorities should always be very closely aligned with, your workforce priorities, right? If you think about that for a second, you can't separate those two things away from each other, because that's going to, again, conflict, and you're going to have to overcome certain obstructions.
Correct,
So as
correct.
long as you keep your business priorities in line with, your workforce priorities, that enables you to go that much more faster. And
True.
then I'd say the last couple of things I'd probably say is, look, you want to always think about how to position your business to not just benefit from a situation, but to be able to help solve problems in the situation. That always helps for you to not only feel good about what you're doing, but be able to take advantage of what you're doing, and also benefit for that matter.
Yeah, yeah.
And then lastly, data and analytics, today represent some of the best opportunities to
Mhm.
not only optimize your operations and break down decision-making silos, but how well you leverage it becomes the differentiator, if you will. So
Correct.
hopefully,
No, I think really great thoughts around data, around the speed, the intensity. Increase the speed with people being aligned. I think that's very key. And what I have seen, like if I look at Indian ecosystem, especially the fintech, if you go a little deep and double click on that, uh, the past year, what we have seen is a surge of digital payment wallets across, right? Everybody is getting into fintech, right?
Right.
And they are getting more accessible, they are getting more cheaper, right? Each transaction, the cost is low and getting lower and lower. So how do you, as a creator of the product, how do you create differentiation becomes the key, right? And right, so I think a couple of them will stay, but how do you create differentiator? And especially this in disruption, I think you can lose out completely, or you can win or continue to win if you continue to create differentiators. So some clear thoughts on that would be really helpful.
Yeah, look, I think before you think about disruption, as differentiation, as you said, the last year, digital alert. If you're not adopting to the digital form of the business, you're
Yeah,
left behind,
yeah,
right? So the transformation is at the center stage right now.
right,
So if you think about like financial services industry, it's witnessing a rapid digital transformation, right? I mean, robust digital infrastructure and the optimal usage of new age technologies are starting to become more and more critical for business continuity,
right,
resilience, and quick deliveries, right? Not
right,
just customer experience, but you have a whole series of other things that are hidden behind it that you're
correct.
going to have to leverage the latest technologies on. And FIs had to reimagine their businesses overnight around this, around this whole pandemic, where customers were demanding at-home service, no-touch options, on demand, right? It becomes incredibly important how you leverage some of these innovative technologies, right? Whether you're moving to the cloud, again, moving to the cloud is no longer for just large retailers, right? But it's even smaller ones now are starting to catch up. AI, robotic
Absolutely.
process automation, data analytics, they're starting to gather significant demand for even at all different places, right?
Right.
And then look, digital is being used to catalyze innovation, right?
Mhm.
Again, the future of digital innovation continues to lie, as I said, in the data management aspects,
Mhm.
accompanied the usage of multiple automation tools, right? And the last but not the least, again, there are newer techniques that are continuing to emerge, whether it is around the customer data platform or customer analytics hubs, which is again is expected to help grow, engagement, customer experience, and profitability. But
Right.
to answer your question, I'll tell you the thing that's going to drive the differentiation is the authentic customer insights, right?
Okay.
With you being able to leverage data analytics and elevating the consumer experiences
Right.
through digital through the entire digital journey, right? And then more importantly, building digital trust, right? The safety and the security
Mhm.
is absolutely the most important thing in these days, right? In
Ex-
addition to scalability. So I would say, as long as you're able to provide rich insights into the customer throughout their journey and providing a very safe and secure sort of experience, and you're able to scale your business quickly, I think will make the biggest differentiator.
I think that really is a point of making a trust with your customer, right? And if you want to be a winner and continue to be a winner, I think you got to build the trust. And if the trust is broken, we can see what kind of noise it is around right now, right, with one of the apps. So um, yeah, I mean, I think it will be good to really go a little deep, right, in terms of your organization, Fiserv, and get some more juice into the conversation in terms of, as a president of Fiserv Services, what are your priorities right now, and what are you looking for, right? Something to solve, something big to solve. Love to hear that.
Yeah, look, I think we have been very clear as we entered into this pandemic. We came into the year with a very wide set of priorities, but as we started getting into the pandemic and as our work culture changed, we were very, very quick to realize one of the most important things for us was to keep the place secure,
Hmm.
right? And again, when I say keep the place secure, it's for both the clients as well as our associates, right?
Hmm.
So everything we do, our culture at our firm is keeping the client at center of everything we do. Any decisions we take, any approach we take is about our customer experience and the client,
Hmm.
and associates at the same time, right? So we are an essential services provider, as you
Right,
know.
right,
It's extremely important for us to continue to stay up and working pretty much round the clock without any interruptions. Our priority has been able to be able to provide a seamless movement of money and information during these challenging times. And you get that by making sure that you clarify for both to our associates as well as our clients what our number one priority is, which, as I said,
right, right.
is keeping the place up and running and keeping it very secure. right?
Right.
While we do this, the most important thing is taking care of your associates, right? It's about making sure the well-being of our teams, ensuring that they have the adequate time off, and so on and so forth. Let me give you an example, right? So
Sure.
when we came into this year, we had, as I said, a wide set of priorities with certain levels of milestones and what we needed to get achieved. As the pandemic hit and as we went into lockdown, we consciously slowed things down towards end of March, and
Okay.
we knew that was going to be detrimental to what we had set to achieve in
Mhm.
2020. But we said the right thing to do is let people get themselves acclimated to the new environment, make sure that they get adjusted to the new ways of working,
Yeah.
and lo and behold, right? I mean, hindsight 2020. Now we all know, the actual amount of time that people worked and spent in front of computers to be able to contribute towards their work actually increased. So in effect, even though we slowed down, as they say, slow down to go fast, which is exactly what ended up happening in our case. So
True.
we slowed down a little bit. We made sure the priorities were crystal clear. It was about keeping the place secure, making sure systems are up and running, and then giving people their space to be able to get themselves acclimated. That really worked to our benefit.
Beautiful point. I think awesome point. I think giving that kind of a space, clarity, and systems out there which are secured, I think is awesome for the fintech business, right? And as a leader, I'm just trying to recollect, like you got responsible just few months before, right? Before the lockdown happened and all, with the big responsibility. And I would love to hear some tips from you, especially as a leader, what it takes to manage such kind of a change, right? A transition, and what it takes really as a leader, and what to think through when you have to go past this.
Yeah, look, I think you know, just to clarify, I've been part of First Data now for almost over 6 years, and First Data got acquired by Fiserv, so
Okay.
I'm not really new to the ecosystem from that standpoint. Now, having said that, this change is here to stay, right? So we're in a completely new paradigm called the digital workplace, which would be a combination of a physical workplace and a remote workplace, right? The collaboration tools will play a significant role in determining the new ways of how we're going to connect with each other, how we're going to collaborate with each other, and how we're going to communicate with each other while we're being agile and being engaged, right?
Yeah.
It comes down to, Rakesh, again, very simple things about making sure that your technical infrastructure is automated
Hmm.
in provisioning and maintenance, which will drive, if you think about standardization and rationalization, and automatically creates more space for innovation, right? So
Right.
those are things we continue to be focused on.
Hmm.
Some of the things that I think is very, very important is making sure that you focus on your workforce transformation
Hmm.
as you transform, your processes for accommodating the new paradigm, if you will.
Hmm.
It's about internal talent mobility. It's about continuous learning, making sure that you provide people the platform to upskill themselves so that they can be future ready
Hmm.
for the firm and for themselves, if you think about it, right? And then democratization of technology. By that I mean giving people an opportunity and a playground to be able to play with some of the latest technologies, even if they're not directly applying it on a day-to-day business. Focusing on associate care and well-being and being empathetic, right? I mean, again, it's now something that we do anyway, even without the pandemic, but around these times, it's pretty challenging for all of us to survive, let alone to be, competitive.
Yeah.
And then, as I said before, making sure that people understand security first
Hmm.
is, a culture that we foster. Um, and we're focused on productivity, right? It's important that we maximize every hour of our work to the benefit of our clients. So adopting new ways of working around being more productive is something that we're focused on. So hopefully, that helps, right? Again, it's a bit of the people, bit of process, and bit of technology. They are all our levers to be able to
Yeah,
make this.
I think it's a whole new world of collaboration, a whole new world of innovation, where kind of putting this together with a digital first frame, right, and working across globally, I think is a challenge, and kind of solving it piece by piece would be key. Is there any specific piece that you are yet to solve now, and when we move into a normal situation, or I would not say a normal situation, but it could be a new situation, like what kind of things that you see are yet to do, or we haven't done that yet.
Look, I think, as you go through this change, first of all, I think, if you think about, leadership and you think about transformation, leadership is about clarity, right? So, making sure that even during these uncertain times, people clearly understand, the what that needs to be achieved and why, right? As I always say, the what and the why becomes more important than really the how.
Yeah.
That helps people to continue to move forward, to solve for themselves a lot of the things that may not necessarily be solved yet, right? So as I said before, it's a new paradigm, and there are a lot of things that are not quite ideal. We're still continuing to figure out how to be more effective in collaboration. We're continuing to be more, we're trying to figure out how to be more effective as it pertains to agile teams and create new designs and things like that. But we bring it back to the basics, right? Again, it's about making sure that you understand your priorities and keep the systems up and running, make sure the place is secure, and then everything else comes after that. And with all of this said, again, the idea here is to making sure the client is the center of everything we do.
Good.
So there's plenty to do, but we're confident that we're plummeting through it.
Yeah, great. Let's. We have few minutes left, and I would like to take some audience questions. And definitely, okay. Um, yeah, this is interesting. Masa SoftBank reported a record loss and highlighting the deepening crisis as its portfolio companies from the global downturn. How are you tackling this, and what are the strategies have you defined moving forward? Very specific question.
Say that again. It's about what company now?
Masa, SoftBank reported a record loss and highlighting the deepening crisis at its portfolio companies from
Yeah.
global downturn. So, how are you tackling this, and what are the strategies that you are defined moving forward?
Look, we at Fiserv, we're part of an essential services,
Mhm.
business, right? So we cater to, we're a global business. We're in 100 different countries, and we primarily focus on making sure that we have, we're in part of the commerce, right? So making sure that the commerce happens smoothly without any interruptions. So
Mhm.
from that standpoint, if you really think about it, yes, we're affected because there are certain parts of the industry,
Right.
is yet to recover, whether it's leisure, whether it's travel, and so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
there are certain other parts of our business has continued to hum along, maybe even do better than how it did before, right? Whether it is, people buying things on the internet or people having to go spend on essential day-to-day requirements. Like I said, we are in the business of making sure that people pay for their most essential services, like if somebody had to, pay for their hospital services, to
Mhm.
someone actually buying bread and milk and eggs from the neighboring store, right?
Okay.
And go to any kind of complex commerce movement across cross-border and things like
Right.
that. So, we're fortunate to some extent, but again, no business in this scenario is completely immune to what's going on around the globe.
Good.
But that said, we continue to do fairly okay.
No? Good. Good that you crossed through. Uh, One question, I mean, there are a lot of entrepreneurs out here, product managers here, out here. So I'll probably ask two more questions, and which I'm getting right. Uh, let's ask for the entrepreneurs here out here, right? We what we covered is a very incumbent playbook, right? This is how you get people aligned, get the direction, get things ball rolling, make it secure, right? But if I am an entrepreneur, if I am a disruptor, right? What's your perspective to them, or what kind of advice that you would like to give them?
I learn from the entrepreneurs. We learn from entrepreneurs every day. So I'm not going to sound preachy. I'll tell you what works for us, and hopefully some people find it useful.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's about data-driven iterations and continuous user testing, right?
Right.
And this famous adage that says "fail fast."
Right.
It's good to fail fast. Don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but sometimes you don't want to fail too fast, right?
Right.
So it's about making sure that you are constantly testing with the consumer before you go full blown,
Right.
and digital enablement, right? And again, digital enablement, even the small businesses, as I said, is what's actually going to refuel the economy. So there's
Correct.
plenty of entrepreneurship that's waiting to happen in that space,
Right.
and elevating the customer experience, because
Right.
once set that early perception of who you are and what you do, it's hard
Mhm.
to revert that back, right?
Right.
And last but not the least, I'd say don't underestimate cloud adoption. Even if you're a early beginner and early starter. Sometimes you want to stop there. That enables you to be able to leverage and grow as you scale up and use data. Data and analytics is your friend, right? And more so now than ever.
Good. Good. No, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Srini. I think we have crossed the time. I had one more question on the product manager side, but I will take that up in the product management summit. And in fact, we have a session which is going on for the students who want to really get into the product and all. So please join that session, and that's those questions are answered there. But Srini, it was really glad to speak to you, glad to meet you today, and pleasure hearing from you all the tips in terms of how to continue to be a remaining a winner. Right.
Well, thank you, Rakesh. Those were excellent questions. I learned, a couple things as part of this conversation, and thanks for everybody who was able to join and listen to our conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Srini.